Next! Αυτά είναι τα πιο creepy. Αυτά είναι τα πιο creepy. Που πάνε σε σπίτια.
In April 2021, a woman named Shayla Bryan and her husband were inside their home in North Carolina when their 13-year-old son went outside to walk their dog. As soon as he walked out the door, the Ring camera footage captured a suspicious silver BMW stop in front of the family's front lawn, after which a strange man got out of the vehicle and approached the teenager.
Ρε, τι συχαμένοι άνθρωποι.
Without even introducing himself, the man asked the boy if he lives in the neighborhood. According to the teenager's mother, she and her husband had taught their son about stranger danger multiple times in the past, but on this particular occasion, the boy appeared to freeze up out of fear.
Τρελό που δεν
What's most
έχουν έναν
disturbing about
φράχτη
the
να
recording
κάτι.
is that the man didn't waste a split second to get out of the car and talk to the boy, which suggests he was either prowling around the neighborhood waiting for someone to step out of their house, or he was very familiar with the Bryant family's routine and was specifically targeting the boy. Fortunately, the teenager's father was able to intervene before anything could happen.
What you got to ask my son?
Oh, I was wondering about the airplane noise.
Talking to my son and he ain't got no adult out here. That's kind of creepy.
Ωραίος.
When the boy's father confronts him, the stranger is forced to think quickly on his feet and blurts out that he was wondering about the airplane noise in the area. Obviously, it doesn't make a lot of sense to be driving around a random neighborhood waiting for a 13-year-old kid to walk out of his house just to ask him a question like that, and the father doesn't appear to buy the story
Δείτε
for
τα
a
χέρια
second.
του. Ναι.
Shayla Bryant, the boy's mother, mentioned she remained apprehensive after the incident, especially since it was never confirmed what exactly the man was planning to do. The suspect
γιατί
drove
πήγε
off
στις
soon after and
πινακίδες.
was never seen again. On July 15th, 2022, a TikToker uploaded this chilling footage of an unexpected visit to her home while she was gone. In it, a
Πάρτε τι του
disturbing
έκανες τώρα
voice
του
can be heard
Thief.
asking to be let in their house's back door.
Τι! Αυτοί είναι δαίμονες. Αυτοί είναι δαίμονες. Από τη φωνή. Το κατάλαβα.
The person repeats the words, "Let me in," as they scratch and knock on the back door.
Αυτό είναι πως είναι...
The eerie quality of the voice, coupled with the
στο
fact that nobody can be seen on screen, led
Vampire
a lot of
Diaries, πρέπει
viewers
να
to
τους
come up
καλέσεις
with
μέσα,
different
τους
theories as to who may
δικόλακες,
have been at the
για να μπουν
door.
στο σπίτι, γι' αυτό
During
το
the
λέει,
entire
για να
video, a
καλέσουν
human
μέσα.
shadow can be easily made out in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, but the person themselves never walks in front of the camera.
Α, νόμιζα ότι έχει
Some
δεύτερο άτομο.
viewers
όχι,
suggested
όχι,
this alludes to the footage being staged. Others, however, think that someone with malicious intent could be targeting her house and urge the user to be careful. To this day, it hasn't been confirmed what exactly this footage shows, and no further updates have been made by the TikTok user. In August 2019, a security camera inside a home in Troy, Michigan captured a suspicious man walking up the stairs and looking around the
Φανταστείτε λίγο.
house.
Ο άλλος είναι μέσα στο
Based on his
σπίτι.
body language, it doesn't look like he knows his way around the home, and that's because he broke in. Although the next part of the incident wasn't caught on camera, a few seconds after walking up the stairs, the man walked into the homeowner's bedroom, where he found her sleeping. Disturbingly, the woman reported that she woke up screaming to the man standing over her bed.
Τι
The intruder
λες,
immediately ran out
ρε!
of the house, but even with the footage, police were left with no leads on who this could have been or how he had gotten in. It wasn't until 2 months later in October of that year that the same man was once again captured on camera in another home in
Α,
Rochester
νόμιζα
Hills,
ξαναπήγε.
Michigan.
Ρε, τι...
In this incident, the man can be seen climbing onto the hot tub and peering through the window for a few seconds before walking away.
Κρύπουλας.
Although the incident was also reported by this homeowner, the man continued to dodge the police for several months after that. Then, in January 2020, the man made yet another appearance in the area. In this instance, he peered through the kitchen window of a house in Bloomfield Township and hid behind a tree, after which the homeowner received a notification from his home security camera alerting him to the stranger's presence. Even though the first part of the incident wasn't caught on camera, footage of the man walking along the side of the house was later released.
Καλά, και αυτός πήγαινε στην ίδια γειτονιά όλη την ώρα.
Once again, the intruder evaded the authorities, and it wasn't until a few days later that the police finally made a break in the case. In February 2020, the same man was seen by a cop running from a residential yard in Bloomfield Township in the same neighborhood as the last time he was captured on video. This time, he was arrested, issued a citation and a restraining order, and forced to wear a GPS tether until his court date. The man was identified as 27-year-old Donovan Johnson, and it was later revealed that he worked as a bankruptcy attorney.
Αυτός απλά ήταν ανώμαλος, δεν έκλειβε, δεν έκανε τίποτα, ήταν να μπαίνει στη
There were no further
σπίτια.
updates on the case, but if he was convicted, it's likely he's still serving time to this day. In September 2018, a man named Jeff Knoll uploaded a disturbing video to his channel, which he titled, "Man Trying to Enter My Home in the Middle of the Night." In it, a creepy man can be seen approaching the front door of a home and seemingly attempting to find a way in.
Ρε, δεν βλέπουμε τίποτα. Κρύβεται. Από την κάμερα ή τι.
At first, the break-in seems pretty non-threatening, but a few seconds later, the man begins pulling on the doorknob and talking to himself.
Όλη αυτή η δράση δηλαδή να έχουν δικούς ανθρώπους να είναι τελείως μόνοι στη ζωή. Επειδή να έχουν δικούς τους ανθρώπους, νιώθω και οι υπόλοιποι δικοί τους θα είναι κάπως πειραγμένοι. Ρε το μάτι του! Τι κοιτάει! Και αυτός έχει πάρει ό,τι παίρνετε. Και αυτός έχει πάρει ό,τι παίρνετε, δεν υπάρχει. Γιατί όλοι αυτοί που παίρνουν χάπια, δεν ξέρω και εγώ τι παίρνουν εκεί πέρα, όλα τα ναρκωτικά, ό,τι υπάρχει, πάνε και προσπαθούν να μπουν σε σπίτια.
Make out, but most of it is unclear. Before the man can go any further with his break-in attempt, the homeowner calls out from a window and threatens to call the police.
Του ανοίξει τον σπρώχνος και πέφτει από τη σκάλα.
Okay, I was just looking for a dog fighter. Whoa.
Μεταξύ μας, εγώ νομίζω σε αυτή την περίπτωση, επειδή θα ήθελα να τον πιάσουν, δεν θα ένιωθα ασφάλεια να ξέρω ότι κυκλοφορεί έξω, θα έκανα ησυχία και θα έπαιρνε την αστυνομία τηλέφωνο. Οπότε θα προσπαθεί να μπει και μπας και έρθει η αστυνομία και τον πιάσει. Για να μην πω ότι έχω πάρει την αστυνομία τηλέφωνο και φύγει κατευθείαν. Γιατί θα ήθελα να τον πιάσουν, να μπει φυλακή. Δεν ξέρω βασικά τι θα έκανα. Υποθέσεις κάνω. Μπορεί να φοβόμουν πάρα πολύ και να έλεγα ότι έχω πάρει την τηλέφωνο.
Saying he was just looking for his dog Fido. He then tells the woman that they could be friends before walking off into the night. The man was never seen again by the uploader, and they still have no idea what his intentions were if he had gotten into the house. This terrifying footage was captured in April 2023 in Connecticut. At 9:30 a.m., a man was recorded walking up the front door of a house wearing an orange vest and holding a package in his hand. As soon as the homeowner opens the door, things get disturbing pretty quickly. To make himself seem more genuine, the man pretends to read an address on the package as the homeowner makes his way to the door. Little did he know, the man wasn't there to deliver a package.
Τελείως, δεν ξαναέρχεται τίποτα σπίτι μου. Τέλος.
This is for you.
Δεν ξαναπαραγγέλω τίποτα σπίτι μου. Τελείωσε. Η γυναίκα ήταν και τον έσπρωξε έτσι και πήγε να πέσει κάτω. Και
In
αυτός
an attempt
έφυγε,
to
ας πούμε.
confuse the homeowner, the man tries to give him the package, but when the owner hesitates, the suspect immediately pulls out a weapon and tries to back the owner into his
Ρε, ο
house.
άλλος είχε όπλο.
However,
Είχε
the
κάποιον στο
homeowner pushes
αυτοκίνητο
the
που
man
του λέει
away
drive,
before
drive.
retreating into his
Και
home.
απλά επειδή τον
After the armed
έσπρωξε.
man ran away, he was
Ο
identified
άλλος
by
λέει, άσε,
police
όχι, δεν
as
είμαστε για εδώ.
37-year-old Xavier Otero and was arrested at a family member's house in nearby Hartford, Connecticut. Otero was promptly charged with home invasion, threatening, criminal possession of a firearm, and criminal attempt to commit unlawful restraint.
Ήθελε να τους βάλει μέσα να τους απειλήσει.
During
Μα
the
είχε όπλο, μπορούσε
investigation,
έτσι
the
κι αλλιώς
cops
να
learned
τους
about an
απειλήσει.
alleged plot to take part in a home invasion where the occupants of the home were going to be
Τελωνική
restrained with zip
φώτο.
ties and
Συμφωνώ,
robbed at
συμφωνώ.
gunpoint. The
Δεν έχει
suspect also
φωτογένεια.
mentioned something about possibly invading a second home in Manchester, Connecticut. While executing a search and seizure warrant on the home where they found Otero, police said they found approximately 1.1
Εντάξει, αλλά τι περίμενε θα κάνει, θα μπει μέσα και θα πει ότι σας κλέβω. Α, ναι, βεβαίως, πάρτε όλα. Δεν θα τον σπρώξει, το λιγότερο που θα μπορούσε να κάνει να τον σπρώξει κάποιος, ξέρω εγώ. Και κατευθείαν τα παρατάει πάρα πολύ εύκολα αυτός. Γι' αυτό δεν πέτυχε σαν εγκληματίας, δεν το έχει μέσα του.
Kilograms of drugs and other items commonly used in the operation
Οι
of the
περισσότεροι
drug
ψιλονταΐδες
factory.
τρου και αυτό.
In the same room, the cops found a bag full of heavy-duty zip ties. Shortly after Otero's arrest, police also took the driver of the truck into custody and charged him with conspiracy to commit home invasion and conspiracy to commit unlawful restraint. A month after these arrests, a third suspect was taken into custody, where he was identified as the mastermind behind the operation and promptly sentenced to prison. As of now, all three suspects are still in jail.
Ελπίζω μέσα να τον έκαναν ασήκωτο. Δεν νομίζω ότι
This
στις
eerie and
φυλακές
confusing footage was
επειδή
captured by a
κλέβεις
homeowner's
ότι
ring
σου
camera
κάνουν
one night
κάτι
in
άλλο.
August 2023
Για άλλα
in an
θέματα
otherwise
σου
peaceful
κάνουν.
neighborhood in Bowling Green, Ohio. In the footage, a masked man can be seen ringing the doorbell and immediately running away.
Μήπως απλά έκανε φάρσα.
Initially, the incident appears to be a pretty lame ding-dong ditch attempt, which almost every homeowner has been the victim of at some point or another. But looking closely at the footage, you'll notice the man never
Σας
actually
χαιρετώ,
ran
καλό βράδυ να
away.
έχετε, να περνάτε καλά. Παιδιά, Ελένα, και ευχαριστώ για την βίντεο βραδιά. Bye, bye, party, bye, bye, bye. Καλή
While the man
ξεκούραση,
stood
να
in
πω
the middle
καλή
of the
συνέχεια,
street,
έτσι στη δουλειά τι
staring eerily
απολύω.
at the door, the homeowner made his way down
Καλή
the stairs
ξεκούραση
after
και
being woken
συνέχεια.
up by the sound of the
Bye, bye,
doorbell.
πάρε.
As soon as he saw this figure just eyeing him down in the middle of the street, he called the cops. The next day, Bowling Green police posted the video on Facebook, asking the man's neighbors to help identify the masked intruder. And it didn't take long for other residents of the area to complain that they had been through similar incidents in the days leading up to the uploading of the video.
Αλλά
Following
καλό
the
θα να τον
incident, the
πιάσουν
man
γιατί
was
είναι
never
φορεμένος.
identified by police. His intentions are still unknown. On a rainy morning in 2020, a Ring camera captured a woman walking up to the front door of a house and ringing the doorbell repeatedly.
Ντιν-νταν-ντον. Κάθεται το στόμα ανοιχτό. Τι κάνει? Δεν είναι σαν να κάτι έτσι. Τι κάνει? Δεν είναι καλά.
Strangely, the woman keeps her mouth wide open
Ναι,
almost the
καλά
entire
είδα.
time. But it's unclear if this is due to the influence of drugs, or maybe if it's a symptom of potential illness. After a few seconds of waiting, the woman turns around and leaves. The fact that she can be seen apparently putting her fingers in her mouth as she turns to leave suggests that she might have been in pain, a theory that was echoed by several viewers in the Reddit thread where the clip was originally posted. Other viewers suggested the woman might have been sleepwalking as a result of some powerful sleep medication. But because the clip was captured at 6 a.m., it's also possible that she had been wandering around all night. However, it remains unclear if the woman was genuinely asking for help or if she was possibly planning to do something else entirely. This footage was captured at around 1:35 p.m.
Έβαλε και το κασκαλάκι! Παναγία μου!
Canada. According to the
Καλώς τα
homeowner, he
παιδιά!
received a motion alert.
Καλώς τα παιδιά! Καλώς τα παιδιά! Τι κάνετε, πώς είστε? Hello! Τον σνίφα και μουσική. Hello. Τι κάνετε, παιδιά, πώς είστε? Μαζί ήρθατε κι εσείς? Μαζί ήρθατε? Ή πάντα ρωτάω όταν έρχομαι. Ή συναντηθήκατε στην πόρτα? Ήρθατε μαζί? Όπα ρε, μας την πέσανε. Ναι, hello, τι κάνετε, πώς είστε, πώς περνάτε? Πώς πήγε το stream σας? Μαζί έσκασε το κρου, έτσι. Μαζί ήρθατε. Καλώς τους. Εμείς βλέπουμε τρομακτικά βίντεο. Με εγκληματίες, όλοι παράξενοι εκεί έξω. Δεν θα κοιμηθεί κανένας μας σήμερα. Εσείς δεν ξέρω τι κάνατε. Πώς περάσατε? Τρεμάσεις Silent Hill από 0 έως 10 πόσο του βάζεις? 10 top, το καλύτερο game στην κατηγορία του, 0 το χειρότερο game στην κατηγορία του. Τι του βάζεις? Hello. Τι κάνετε, τι παίζατε εσείς? Τι παίζατε? 9 στα 10. Χάι σε όλους, χάι. 9 στα 10.
From his Ring camera while he was at work.
Okay.
Because it was unusual for him to have visitors in the middle of the day, he immediately activated the live view feature, and that's when he saw this.
Το περίμενα καλύτερα. 9 στα 10 είναι καλό. Είναι πολύ καλό 9 στα 10. Θα το παίξεις, θα μου πεις. Δεν με τραβάει καθόλου. Αργότερα, κάποια στιγμή. Λα, παίζαμε και τώρα θέλουμε...
At first, he mentioned how he didn't think there was anything strange going on, seeing how the visitor was dressed similarly to most utility and telecom workers in the area. But after the man began banging insistently on the door and peering through the window into the house,
Καλησπέρα, ποια είναι η
he
γνώμη
became
σας για
suspicious.
δισεκατομμυριούχους, κριτικούς, δίμετρους, με γαλανά μάτια? Ζωή να έχουνε? Τι να σου πω, η ζωή να έχουνε, θα πω. Α, και αυτός το παίζει ότι έχει πακέτο να δώσει.
After prying at the door with a glove to avoid leaving fingerprints, the man motions to his accomplice to come to the door, and that's when things get even more disturbing.
Α, φοράνε τα γαντάκια τους, πάνε, λένε λείπουνε, πάμε να κλέψουμε. Αν εσύ ξέχασες να πεις για τη συλλογή, ποια συλλογή? Για κάνε ένα expose εδώ πέρα. Άκου Αντίβα, για δώσ' το expose. Αυτοί είναι επαγγελματίες. Κάνε την κάμερα να τη βλέπουνε.
Get away from the door.
Έτσι.
While the man in the Yankees cap acts as a lookout, the man in the vest uses what appears to be a large screwdriver to violently pry the door open and break in. After managing to get the door partially open, the homeowner manages to activate the two-way talk function and makes his presence known. After the video was made public, the homeowner was interviewed by local police about the incident. The video was then posted to Facebook, where many neighbors and nearby residents claimed to know who the two men were. However, it was never confirmed that the two suspects were apprehended. Based on what was captured on video, the two men were most likely planning an armed robbery. But with no further context, it's impossible to know if that's really what they had in mind, or if they plan to do something worse.
Δεν έχει
As
τέτοια
of
εδώ.
this upload,
Άμα είναι να
there are no
δώσουμε
further
μπαν, το δίνουμε
updates
από την
on the
καρδιά μας. Δεν λαδωνόμαστε για μπαν. Άμα είναι να πέσει μπαν, το νιώθουμε, το θέλουμε. Την καρδιά μας θα είναι.
This dashcam footage was captured in the early morning hours of May 2nd, 2023 in Browns Plains, Australia. In it, a white car can be seen traveling through a series of roundabouts before continuing on a straight road. Everything seems calm at first, but just 10 seconds into the video, something pretty messed up was caught by the driver's dashcam.
Τι? Ένας τύπος που περπατάει στο πλάι, είδα. Α! Τι είδα μόλις τώρα?
Disturbingly, a woman can be seen crossing the street right when the car is going by and practically throws herself at the vehicle. A couple of seconds later, a man rushes towards the alleged victim and tries to get the driver to stop. Though the driver had the common sense to drive away as fast as possible. Had the driver been distracted or shocked by the incident, he might have made the mistake of stopping and getting out to see if the victim was okay. Fortunately, the man and woman's bad acting made it more than obvious that something suspicious was going on, and that the driver would probably have been in danger had he gotten out of his car. It's hard to accurately gauge the intentions of someone crazy enough to launch themselves into oncoming traffic and put themselves in a line of danger like that. But according to the description in the original video, the driver initially thought that the whole incident was staged to pull off an insurance scam in which the supposed victim and an accomplice stage an accident, fake a severe injury, and then exaggerate their claim to receive compensation for medical expenses from the insurance company. Although this was the driver's first thought, the reason he drove off so quickly was
Παίζει
something
αυτή να ήθελε
completely
να
different.
συναντηθεί όντως με αυτόν τώρα
Later
και
that
να
same
πέρασε τον
morning,
δρόμο
the
τώρα
driver
στιγμή.
reported the
Δεν
incident to the
νομίζω.
police and mentioned in his statement that even though it wasn't captured by the dashcam, as soon as the man on the side of the road rushed out to help the supposedly injured woman, a group of men could be seen emerging from the shadows and sprinting toward the vehicle from behind.
Θέλω να τον κάνω να
Realizing the danger he would be in if he
βγει.
got out of the vehicle, the driver took off immediately to avoid a potential carjacking, extortion, or even kidnapping. According to the Browns Plains police station,
Πόσο
an
αυτό δεν
investigation
μπλέκει
was
σε
launched
κατάσταση
after the report,
τραυματισμένου σε
but the people
ατύχημα.
involved were never.
Νομίζω εδώ πέρα φαίνεται ότι δεν την πέτυχε. Ας πούμε, το αμάξι σταμάταγε λίγο πριν τη χτυπήσει και αυτή έπεσε πάνω του. Βέβαια τώρα αν δεν είχε προλάβει να σταματήσει και όντως την χτύπαγε, εκεί δεν ξέρω τι κάνει.
Found. It's unknown what would have happened to the driver had he gotten out of his car to assess the woman's supposed injuries, or even had stayed there a bit longer in his car. One can only assume that the men were trying to get him out of his car for some horrific purpose.
Γεια γιατί βλέπετε τέτοια πράγματα δεν
In
θα μπορείτε να κοιμηθείτε το βράδυ.
a
Αυτό είναι
YouTuber
το
named
πλάνο.
Bear with Hat uploaded this alarming
Πανάνε,
footage that he
ευχαριστώ
recorded
πολύ
on
για
his
την
phone in June
παρέα.
of that year.
Και σήμερα, bye
In
Peachy,
the
bye bye
caption of the
bye.
video, the uploader explained that after
Καλή
leaving his
ξεκούραση.
friend's house in Keller, Texas, he noticed a white Dodge Challenger traveling closely
Σημείωσε
behind
αυτό να δεν
him.
σταματάς. Ναι, άμα
Suspecting that he
δεν
was being
ξέρω,
followed,
ρε.
he pretended to enter the I-35 highway but swerved onto a service road at the last second. To his horror, the white car then also swerved onto the service road and continued to follow him. In an attempt to shake off the white car, Bear with Hat made a sudden U-turn at an overpass and pulled over on the other side of the highway. When he saw the Dodge still following closely behind him, he sped off and pulled over into a turning lane in front of a hospital at the next intersection. That's when the white car stopped right in front of him with their left turn signal still flashing, and this is where things take a darker turn.
Θα βγούνε, Ναι, ωραία. Απίστευτο. Πόσα τέτοια περιστατικά έχουμε δει. Είναι τόσο συχνό φαινόμενο αυτό.
Just a few seconds after the uploader started recording to try to get the car's license plate, a man steps out of the driver's side of the Dodge and approaches the car. Another man who wasn't caught by the victim's phone was also getting out of the car, but the uploader hightailed it out of there before he could clearly catch him on his camera. In the description of the video, the victim also mentioned that if the man on the passenger side had not gotten out of the way in time, he would have ran him over and kept on driving.
Καλύτερα.
At some point during his escape, the uploader dropped his phone on the floor of his Hyundai Elantra to focus on the road and headed to a grocery store that he knew would probably have a cop standing outside. As soon as the driver of the Dodge saw him head towards the officer, he broke off the pursuit and fled in a different direction. Because of the uploader's well-timed reaction and quick thinking, we'll likely never know what the two men planned for that night, but judging by their threatening behavior, it couldn't have been anything good. This footage was captured on November 2nd, 2014, and shows a car speeding down Highway 78 at around midnight. A few seconds later, the video shows the driver slowing down to avoid hitting a suspicious roadblock up ahead, consisting of just 2 traffic cones blocking the entire road.
Όχι.
As the driver brings his car to a stop, his headlights eerily catch the lower half of a man's body walking suspiciously towards his vehicle. When he tries to drive through the cones, the man stands in his way, blocking the car's path.
Τον πατάς!
Sensing something is off, the driver immediately calls out to the man to try to get an explanation.
What's going on? Can I help you with something?
Goodbye.
It probably wasn't the best idea to engage with a man who put cones in the middle of the highway, but then again, they could have been there for any number of reasons.
Ναι, αλλά αν ήθελε βοήθεια θα το έλεγε ότι χρειάζεται
He asked him
βοήθεια.
if he needed help, he saw the man reach into his pocket, and that's when the driver decided to play it safe and sped away. According to the uploader, the man and his accomplice were later detained by the cops, but were somehow only charged with DUI. If the man had been given more time, it's anyone's guess what he would have done, but luckily the driver didn't stick around long enough to find out. This extremely disturbing incident took place at about 7 a.m. on May 18th, 2021 in West Pensacola, Florida. In the footage that was caught by a nearby parked car's dash cam, an 11-year-old girl can be seen kneeling on the grass waiting for a bus to pick her up for school. A few seconds into the video, a white Dodge Journey circles around the girl, and although she notices it, she doesn't seem to be alarmed. Unfortunately, the man at the wheel of the Dodge wasn't just casually driving around the neighborhood as the girl might have imagined. Just a minute and a half later, the same white car pulled over at the edge of the roundabout, with the driver completely oblivious to the fact that his license plates were being recorded. Once again, the little girl turns her head and looks at the white car several times, but with no real reason to be afraid yet, she stays where she is. That's when the driver gets out of the car and does the unthinkable. In an act of pure evil, the man attempts to steal the girl and carry her back to his car. The girl bravely struggles against his grip, and eventually the man stumbles, causing both of them to fall on the grass. After realizing his cover had been blown, the man runs back to his car and drives away. It's terrifying to think what would have happened to the girl had the man not tripped and fallen, but luckily his license plate made it easy for cops to track him down and arrest him that same evening. Later that night, the West Pensacola Sheriff's Department identified the suspect as 30-year-old Jared Paul Stanga. According to the police report, he was armed with a knife at the time of the attack. It was also revealed that the suspect had a lengthy criminal history. During the investigation, police also found that the Dodge Journey he was driving had been freshly painted, most likely in an attempt to avoid detection. Disturbingly, 2 weeks before the incident, the little girl mentioned to her school principal that a man in a white car had pulled up to her bus stop and talked to her, but no actions were taken by the school to protect her. After the attack, Jared Stanga was charged with attempted kidnapping of a child under 13, aggravated assault, and battery. Luckily, the girl was reported safe, though obviously pretty shaken up by the events she went through that morning.
Ρε, τώρα είπε γιατί ή δεν άκουσα καλά. Αυτός πέρασε από εκεί τυχαία. Σε άλλη είχε μιλήσει πριν βάψει στο αυτοκίνητο ή στην ίδια. Πω. Κιμάιρα, yellow. Νομίζω η ίδια. Άρα τον παρακολουθούσε, ήξερε ότι περιμένει κάθε μέρα εκεί πέρα να περάσει το λεωφορείο να τον πάρει. Πόρε. Γιατί δεν τους σκοτώνουμε όλους αυτούς? Γιατί δεν τους σκοτώνουμε? Γιατί οι υποεκφωνητές του δεν είχαν κάνει κάτι για να την προστατέψουν? Η αλήθεια είναι ότι σταμάτησε το αυτοκίνητο και της μίλησε. Ναι, γίνεται να βγάλουμε ένα νόμο ότι απαγορεύεται άνθρωποι να σταματάνε, ξέρω εγώ, τα αυτοκίνητά τους και να ζητάνε οδηγίες από ανήλικα παιδιά. Να απαγορεύουν να τους μιλάνε. Ακόμα και αυτό.
On November 21st, 2018.
Γιατί μπορεί, λένε, OK, μπορεί κάποιος να σταμάτησε να ρώτησε για οδηγίες ή κάτι. Ότι και εγώ όταν ήμουν μικρή, φεύγα με τα παιδιά από το σχολείο, κάποιος μας είχε ρωτήσει πού είναι ο τάδε δρόμος, ας πούμε. Είχαν χαθεί με το αυτοκίνητο κάτι τέτοιο και τους είπαμε, ήταν ένα ζευγάρι από εδώ από εκεί. Εγώ τους είπα, παρεπτόντως τους είπα λάθος κατά λάθος. Τέλος πάντων, δεν έχει σημασία. Αλλά ναι, να μην επιτρέπεται ούτε καν αυτό. Να μιλάνε σε παιδιά έτσι στον δρόμο. Δεν ξέρω, κάτι πρέπει να κάνουμε. Θανατική ποινή, εγώ λέω. Αυτό.
A 24-year-old woman named Vanessa Donay sat in the backseat of her mother's Chevy Equinox with her 2-year-old daughter as they waited for Vanessa's mom to finish her appointment at a business center in Windsor, Canada. At one point during the waiting period, Vanessa noticed a suspicious man walk past their vehicle and stare at it for a little longer than necessary. Almost immediately after walking out of frame, the man doubles back around and approaches the car.
Ρε, θέλω να τους σαπίσω, θέλω όλους αυτούς. Θέλω να τους... Η αδελφή του Άκη, κάνω λάθος. Όντως! Είσαι αδελφή του Άκη. Εσύ που τα ξέρεις όλα, βρε, κουτσομπόλη.
With an alarmingly casual demeanor, he then enters the Chevy through the unlocked passenger door where he finds Vanessa and her daughter sitting in the back seat. Understandably terrified, Vanessa can be heard screaming at the man. Although the rest of the incident wasn't caught on camera, Vanessa reported that as soon as the man saw her, he gave her a disturbing smile, shut the door, and took off in his black pickup truck. After she reported the incident to the cops and posted the video on Facebook, some viewers theorized that the man had maybe just seen Vanessa's daughter, and thinking she was alone, he thought he could steal her. However, others thought he didn't see anybody and was just trying to steal the car. Just 3 days later, officers with the Windsor Police Property Crimes Unit saw the man drive a vehicle into a parking lot near the area of the incident. According to the police report, as soon as the man got out of the car and went into an apartment building, the cops followed and arrested him without incident. The man was immediately identified as 38-year-old Corey Oikel, and as it was later revealed, the vehicle he was found with was stolen, supporting the idea that he was only trying to steal Vanessa's car and not her daughter. Inside his car, the cops also found several stolen items from his previous car thefts, along with a bunch of random receipts that indicated the man had made fraudulent transactions using stolen property. As per the court documents that were released a couple of months later, the incident with Vanessa wasn't exactly Corey's first rodeo. After the cops were able to connect him with several other similar incidents from earlier that year, Corey was charged with 4 counts of possession of stolen property, 3 counts of theft, 2 counts of assault, uttering threats, attempted theft of a motor vehicle, theft of mail, and fraud. Fortunately, Vanessa was smart enough to scare him away by screaming before he could do anything even more messed up than his previous crimes. This next footage was captured in 2017 in Thailand. On the morning of December 26th, a 32-year-old radio operator named Mana was looking down at his phone as he walked back towards his car from his radio office when he had an unexpected near-death experience.
Αγχώνομαι. Ρε. Εντάξει. Τα καλώδια είναι καλά.
As soon as he walks by the power line, the electricity cables above his head spontaneously explode.
Τυχερός.
Had it taken a fraction of a second more to react, Mana would have been struck by the power line, which would have most likely been fatal. As he later revealed in an interview, the explosion was caused by an electrical fault due to overheating, which melted the nearby wires. At the time of the incident, the city had seen some pretty heavy rain, which only made things worse. According to sources close to the victim, some cities in Thailand are known for notoriously dangerous overhead cables that litter the streets and pose a significant risk to those who find themselves walking under them at the wrong time. Luckily, Mana was able to walk away unharmed, but the incident obviously raises a huge red flag to how electricity is structured in some of these cities. On July 23rd, 2023, a woman's dashcam captured a particularly disturbing incident in Oakland. The footage follows the woman driving down Skyline Boulevard behind a white Dodge Charger. The poor video quality could be due to the woman's dashcam or to a possible compression when the video is transferred to desktop. But regardless, this is the quality of the original video.
Δεν το έχω δει. Έχω δει το βίντεο λίγο πριν γίνει, αυτό ξέρω, που την μαχαίρωσαν, αλλά δεν το είδα. Δεν ξέρω αν συνεχιζόταν το βίντεο ή κάτι, αλλά δεν ήθελα να το δω. Δεν άντεξα. Έλεος ρε και αυτό. Τι γίνεται εκεί πέρα.
And the white Charger, there are no other cars inside.
Και καλά και τα καλώδια. Νομίζω ότι κάτι έγινε στη σένα τώρα και λέω κάτι θα ακούσουμε.
The road and stops at an angle, blocking the woman's path.
Come on now, quit around. No.
Δεν αντέδρασε γρήγορα αυτή. Θα μπορούσε να πάει πολύ χειρότερα. Δεν αντέδρασε γρήγορα η Μαντάμ.
As soon as the Dodge stops in front of her car, the driver immediately realizes something is wrong and fear begins to set in. Unfortunately, nothing could have prepared her for what she was about to experience. After getting out of their vehicle, the two men rush at the woman's car and one of them begins banging on the window to make her get out. Although she panics and screams, the driver remains level-headed enough to step on the gas and drive away. Fortunately, she was not followed and made it home safely. In a later interview, the woman, who chose to remain anonymous, said that she had been driving that route for 38 years and had never been the victim of a carjacking until then.
IRL,
Although no
οπότε ναι,
arrests have
από
been
τέτοια
made
θα
yet, the
εμπνευστήκανε.
cops suspect that the same two men who attacked the woman may be linked to other carjackings in the East Oakland
Και τον
Hills
δεξιά, για να
area,
τον
and
δω
they
τον
plan to
δεξιά.
continue investigating until they find the men responsible. The driver ultimately made the right choice in speeding away. Had she given into fear and stepped out of the car, a carjacking would probably have been the least of her worries. This footage was uploaded to YouTube in 2016 by a man named Michael Bouchard, who mentioned his dashcam captured the following incident in Denver, Colorado as he was driving home from work one day. Keep your eye on the semi-trailer that appears in the left-hand corner of the screen.
Too bad you think you are. That's why they keep bringing you the gifts.
Part of what pulls these disparate neighbors together
Left corner of the screen.
about communities is that these folks
Ρε, σταμάτα!
are stuck where
Σταμάτα πιο πίσω! Θα πέσει. Τι κάνει, γιατί δεν σταματάει.
folks could change their circumstances.
As the semi travels through the overpass, the
Περνάνε
driver
από κάτω οι
approaches
άλλοι.
the curve a
Τι
bit too
κάνουν, ρε?
fast, causing the truck to tip over and nearly fly off the overpass from Interstate 70 to I-25.
Καλά,
As
άλλος,
soon as
πόσο
the
λάθος
truck hits the
πίνει τη
barrier, the
στροφή,
side
ας
of the
πούμε.
vehicle slices open, causing hundreds of
τούμπα,
cans
ρε.
of Miller
Τούμπα,
Genuine
ρε.
Craft to rain down on the highway below. After the incident, traffic was backed up for miles on both highways as the truck was towed and cleanup crews removed the beer that had
Προφανώς.
fallen on the northbound
Έρχομαι.
lanes. Had the truck been going just a little bit faster, the truck would have plummeted on the road below and caused a horrible accident. Fortunately, though, no one was injured during the incident. Dalen Pua went to visit his grandmother Martha Bear in Waianae, Hawaii. Once there, he mentioned to his grandma he was planning on going hiking in Mauna Lua Valley Park in the morning. According to Martha, Dalen mentioned he was going to climb the Haiku Stairs, also known to the locals as the Stairway to Heaven, consisting of over 3,900 steps that ascend the Kohulahu mountain range. The
Εντάξει,
Stairway
λίγο
to Heaven
scary,
was once a
βέβαια.
popular tourist hotspot until it was officially closed to the public in 1980 due to the
Γιατί?
dangerous conditions of the climb. Still, many daring hikers over the decades continue to climb the legendary staircase for the
Αφού είναι
thrill of the
κλειστό.
challenge, and it's not uncommon for the police and
Ρε,
fire
τις
departments
σκάλες
to
είναι
have to
αυτές.
rescue and arrest lost hikers who realize they bit off more than they could chew once they're
Για
at the
σένα
top of the
λένε, ποιοι,
staircase.
πού, τι, γιατί.
When
Τα
Dalen told
καλύτερα
his
θα λένε.
grandmother about his plans, she warned him that it was illegal and tried to stop him, but he was determined to climb the stairway to heaven and didn't listen to his grandma. On the evening before the climb, he posted to Facebook with the caption, "Stairway to
Λέμε.
heaven, hiking this insane hike tomorrow, wish me luck."
Άσε, είδες τα
His friends
ρίς
quickly jumped into the
να
comments to remind
τρομάζεις
him that a
και σε
recent
αγάπησα
mudslide had
λίγο
damaged an entire
παραπάνω.
section of the staircase,
Το
making it
είπα
even
στα
more
jumpscare.
dangerous to attempt the hike.
Σπάνιο φαινόμενο να
But the
ξέρεις
very
αυτό
next
που
morning,
τρομάζει.
Dalen took a
Δεν
bus
είναι
to
συχνό
Mauna Lua Valley
φαινόμενο,
Park
μην
and
νομίζεις.
began the hike, documenting the start of his
Δεν
journey
είναι.
on Facebook with the
Σπάνιο.
caption, "And the hike begins, hashtag
Ναι, ναι.
haiku."
Δεν είναι συχνό
At the beginning of the
φαινόμενο.
hike,
Όλα
he
καλά.
sent some pictures of the mountain range to his friends. At around
Ρε,
11 a.m.
καημένος
that
έπεσε
day,
ή
he
κάτι
sent
τέτοιο.
this last image, after which he became unreachable on all communication channels. Police tried to get in touch with him, but it soon became clear that something had gone wrong during the hike.
Έπρεπε να το...
The next
έπρεπε να είναι
day, Dalen
προετοιμασμένοι.
was reported missing, leading to a citywide search involving the Honolulu Police Department, the Fire Department, the
αυτό
U.S.
ήταν δικό μου
Navy,
λάθος.
several drone pilots, and local volunteers. From the moment the search began,
δείχνω
the
πώς δεν
authorities
τρομάζεις
suspected
καλά
he
κάνεις.
had successfully climbed the
Αυτό είναι
stairway
δικό
to
μου
heaven,
λάθος.
but was unable to come down safely due to the treacherous conditions. On the first day of the search, it rained heavily over Honolulu, making the climb to the top almost impossible for the authorities. After 4 days of looking for Dalen with dogs,
Γιατί να πάει, ήταν
helicopters,
και
and
στη διαδρομή.
infrared cameras,
Λέει
the
ότι
search
πολλοί
was called
πηγαίνανε.
off. But later that very same day, 2 hikers who were climbing a nearby ridge claimed they heard someone screaming for help, and the fire department decided to extend the search another day. But on Tuesday, March 3rd, after days of fruitless investigation, the search was
Οι άλλοι
permanently
που πάνε, ρε, τη
suspended.
βλέπω αυτή τη στιγμή.
Still, Dalen's friends and family continued to search the area, posting his pictures everywhere online, and even starting a GoFundMe campaign that raised over $15,000. After weeks with no convincing clues or even a trace of what happened to Dalen, several theories started circulating on the island. While many people claimed he probably fell down the
Αυτό
side of
ξέρεις,
the
δεν
mountain
λυπάμαι
on his way
καθόλου.
up,
Τον
others
λυπάμαι
speculated
γιατί
that
είναι μικρός,
something
δεν
much
είναι.
more sinister had happened to Dalen
Ανήλικος
while
δεν
climbing
είναι.
the stairway to heaven.
Έπρεπε οι γονείς του να
In the last
μην
image
τον
he sent
αφήσουν
to
να
his
πάει,
friends,
ξέρω εγώ.
you can see
Χαζό
the head of a
ήταν.
man popping up behind the bushes next to the stairway. While the skeptics alleged that the figure was probably just a bunch of leaves and branches and a trick of the light, the Honolulu Police Department decided there was enough evidence in the image to issue an alert and request anyone from the public who had information on the mysterious man behind the bushes to come forward. It now appeared as if Dalen's disappearance had turned into a criminal
Συγγνώμη,
investigation, with many people believing
Είναι
that the man
άντρας
in the
εκεί.
bushes was a stalker who had seen the teenage hiker's Facebook posts and followed him up the mountain to attack him. Some Reddit users thought they recognized the guy, with one user mentioning that the guy in the picture was a good friend of his and that he had nothing to do with the disappearance. But when asked how he could recognize his friend in the image if the man's face was barely even visible, he didn't answer, and nobody's statements on the matter have been verified as
Έφυγα
true.
αμίγκο σαλούτ, καλή
Almost 9
σας.
years after his disappearance, the case of
Απόλυση,
Dalen
νόμιζα.
Poole remains a mystery.
Ήθελα να σου πω, εσύ
In
θέλεις όπως το πω και
2021,
εμείς.
the Honolulu
Απόλαυση
City
δεν
Council
έχει
voted
ύπνο σήμερα.
unanimously to remove the
true.
stairs, awarding a
Δεν έχει
$2.5
πολύ
million
ύπνο σήμερα. Bye,
demolition
Τίγη, bye, bye,
contract
bye,
to
bye.
Alcoa companies.
Καλή
The
ξεκούραση και άντε
decision was
τελείωνε.
pretty
Με το
controversial,
στρατό
but in
τελείωνε.
the end, it was decided that it was the best choice. Unfortunately, we'll still probably
Και
never
οι
know what
γονείς θα πούνε
happened to
όχι, άμα τα
Dalen
παιδιά δεν
Poole
θέλουν
on
να
that day in
ακούσουν,
February 2015,
θα κάνουν το
and
αντίθετο.
whether or not the man in his last photo had anything to do with it.
Δεν ξέρω. Εμένα άτομα αν μου λέγανε οι γονείς μου όχι, ήταν όχι.
At around 1 p.m. on November 2nd, 2020,
Link δεν θα μας το
an 83-year-old
δείξει.
mother of four named
Δεν θα μας το
Paulette
δείξει.
Landriax mysteriously disappeared from her home in Onden,
Θα έχει
Belgium.
αστεράκια.
At the time, her husband was hanging the laundry up to dry in the garden and didn't notice she was gone until later that afternoon. When Paulette's family realized she was missing, they reported the disappearance to the police, triggering a pretty big search for the missing
Στο
woman.
Discord είναι.
Though
Γι' αυτό
this
ρώτησα,
wasn't
ναι,
the
είναι στο
first time
Discord, στο
Paulette
Discord.
disappeared, as she reportedly suffered from Alzheimer's disease and would frequently leave the house at random times of the day and night without telling her husband where she was going. She was known to randomly knock on the neighbors' doors for no apparent reason, and in the years leading up to her disappearance, she no longer recognized her children or her husband. Every other time she had disappeared, her husband would find her a few feet away from the house and bring her back inside.
Πώς
But
τρομακτικό
this
αυτό,
time,
ρε.
she was nowhere to be found.
Ο άνθρωπος
During the
έτσι να
search, 50
φεύγει.
police officers and several
σπίτι.
search and rescue dogs were deployed to the area, along with multiple thermal vision helicopters and an entire fleet of drones. But even with all these resources at their disposal, the local police department failed to find any relevant clues leading to Paulette. After several weeks, the search was called off, and the family assumed that she had fallen into the Meuse River, which ran near her home. In October of 2022, just as the police department was about to close the file, one investigator was searching for Paulette's house on Google Street View and found something shocking. There, as luck would have it, he found a Street View image of Paulette leaving her home and crossing the street to her neighbor's house. The case was immediately reopened, and police were once again deployed to the area, where they found the body of Paulette lying at the bottom of a hill directly below the neighbor's garden. After the autopsy was performed, it was determined that the woman had fallen from an unenclosed section of the garden and died shortly after.
Έλα,
The final
ρε.
moments eerily being caught by the passing Google Street View car as she walks to her death, likely in another wave of confused state caused by her Alzheimer's disease. One thing that's hard to understand is how the police failed to see her with their drones and helicopters the first time. But at least now the family can find closure knowing what happened to Paulette, even if it comes with this eerie last image of her ever being seen alive. If you visit the location on Google Maps today, you'll find the image has been overwritten by a more up-to-date view of the town. In July 2011, two armed individuals broke into an empty house in an otherwise peaceful suburb of Oklahoma City. With a house full of valuables for them to steal and nobody there to stop them, the two got to work.
Καλά και αυτό
But
είναι σαν τα
unfortunately
χώρο
for
και τους
them, the
παίζουμε το
looting spree
σπίτι.
was much more short-lived than they had hoped. A few minutes later,
Έχουμε
the
παίξει
homeowner
σίγουρα σε
returned
αυτό το
and walked
σπίτι.
in on the two of them looting her house. But instead of fleeing with the valuables they had already stolen, they held her at gunpoint as they continued to ransack her home. This went on for over an hour, and during the traumatizing incident, the woman recalled
Μεταξύ
thinking they
ψήφισαν
were
στο
going to
Discord
shoot her
τώρα,
before
τώρα βλέπουμε
leaving.
αυτά τα...
Fortunately, the
spooky.
robbers eventually left the house without physically harming the woman. After the armed robbery, she refused to reveal her identity to the press out of fear that the thieves would retaliate. The woman later reported the incident to the cops, but with no witnesses and an absence of solid leads, the case eventually went cold, and the woman lost hope that the two criminals would ever be found. However, 3 years later, the case took an unexpected turn. On a day in July 2014, the woman's neighbor was looking at her street using Google Maps Street View when she noticed an image of two men casually strolling down the street who perfectly matched the description the victim had given her of the criminals. Immediately, she texted the woman, who confirmed that the two men captured by the Street View van that happened to be mapping out the neighborhood on the day of the robbery were indeed the same two men who had robbed her. Based on the direction they were walking, it seems that the image was captured in the minutes leading up to the crime. Unfortunately, because the two men's faces are obscured by the grainy quality of the image and Google's software that automatically blurs pedestrians, the cops haven't been able to track the men down. But with a string of clues and a picture to add to their search, police now have a much better chance of catching the two thanks to Google Maps. One night in October 2006, a 72-year-old man named David Lee Niles met up with a friend at Jake's Bar in Byrontown, Michigan. This was a place that David visited frequently and usually stayed there for at least a couple of hours, but on that particular evening, the story was very different. Earlier that year, David had been diagnosed with cancer, and after a brief conversation with his friend, he left abruptly, claiming that he was in a lot of physical pain due to the cancer. That was the last time anyone ever saw him. When his family failed to get in touch with him, they reported him missing to the police, leading to a statewide search that ultimately led nowhere, as the cops couldn't find any clues as to where David could have gone. In 2011, 5 years after his disappearance, his family lost hope and accepted the idea that David was gone. The obituary they published online read, "David Lee Niles, age 72 of Wyoming, passed away and only God knows the time and place." The case went completely cold until almost a decade later when a new twist shed light on David's disappearance. One morning in November 2015, Brian Hausman, an employee of the Cook Funeral Home in Byron County, was decorating the company Christmas tree outside. When he got to the top of the tree on his lift to put up the star, he noticed something in the adjacent pond that looked like a submerged car. Immediately, he called the police, and using Google Maps from a bird's eye view, they were able to see the same outline that was described. A dive team was deployed to the area, who confirmed that there was in fact a car at the bottom of the pond. Later that morning, a wrecking crew pulled out the vehicle for the police to inspect.
Επειδή δεν ένιωθε καλά, μάλλον θα λιποθύμησε κάτι τέτοιο και θα οδήγησε εκεί.
Along with a wallet belonging to David Lee Niles. After it was confirmed that the skeletal remains were his, David's family members finally found some closure. Still, the case remains a mystery, as it's unknown what exactly happened to him. Even before his cancer diagnosis, David was known to have severe depressive episodes, and things understandably got a lot worse for him after he found out about the illness. With all this in mind, it's possible that he took his own life, but we'll likely never know for sure.
Σε πηγάδι, λέει, μάλλον μπορεί να έκατσε και να έπεσε κάτι τέτοιο.
In the 80s and 90s, Joe Aquino Gamino was one of Italy's most wanted gangsters. He operated within a Sicilian mafia clan in Agrigento that was embroiled in a feud with Cosa Nostra, Sicily's main mafia network. He was first arrested in 1984 for murder and various other mafia-related crimes, but was later released shortly after. In 1998, he was arrested again in Barcelona, only this time he was sentenced to life in prison. After serving 4 years of his prison sentence at a prison in Rome, he managed to escape in 2002 during a commotion at the prison. Following his escape, he immediately relocated to a town near Madrid, Spain, and changed his name to Manuel Mormino. Over the 20 years that he was on the run from the police, he got married, worked as a chef at a restaurant called Manu's Kitchen, and even opened up a fruit and vegetable shop called Manu's Garden. Sicilian police searched everywhere for him for years, and they eventually issued a European arrest warrant back in 2014. After carrying out several investigations, the police suspected that Gamino was hiding somewhere in Spain, but the way they pinpointed his exact location was pretty out of the ordinary. During the investigation, Sicilian police found that Google Maps had captured a street view image of 2 men talking outside of Manu's garden. One of the men looked extremely similar to the man they were looking for, but the cops only confirmed his identity when they came across a listing for Manu's Kitchen, the restaurant where Gamino worked. While investigating online, the police found a photo of him dressed in chef's attire on the Facebook page for Manu's Kitchen. After confirming his location, the police arrested Joaquino Gamino on December 17, 2022, and extradited him to Sicily, where he is currently serving life in prison. According to the police, when they arrested him, Gamino was extremely confused, and even had the nerve to ask how they found him when he hadn't even called his family in 10 years. In 2009, police from Zurich, Switzerland were carrying out an investigation to shut down illegal marijuana growing operations all over the country. At some point in the investigation, they used Google Earth to locate the addresses of 2 farmers who they suspected of being part of an illegal marijuana operation, and that's when one of the detectives found something interesting. As he was scanning the area on Google Earth, he noticed an unusual change in the pattern of the fields around Rapperswil in the northeastern state of Thurgau. Zooming in, he saw what appeared to be a cannabis plantation that measured more than 2 acres and was hidden inside a cornfield right next to one of the farmers' houses. The Google Earth discovery ultimately led to the arrest of 16 people and the seizure of 1.1 metric tons of marijuana, as well as 900,000 Swiss francs in cash, which is the equivalent of around $1.1 million. According to the police report, the drug ring allegedly sold up to 7 tons of marijuana between 2004 and 2008, bringing in from 3 to 10 million francs a year. When asked about the breakthrough, the head of Zurich Police's Special Narcotics Unit, Norbert Glossner, said it was an interesting chance discovery. Since then, the cannabis plantation has been plowed over as recreational marijuana continues to be illegal in Switzerland.
Ο άλλος το είχε
This
κλείσει
incident
μέσα
happened
σε
at a home in
καλαμπόκια.
Derbyshire, England, where
Ωραίος.
David and Rebecca's
Έξυπνος.
sons lived with their 2 children, Lauren and Ruben. In 2009, the family bought a caravan to travel across the country, but it was unfortunately destroyed shortly after when a joyride crashed
Μα από αυτόν
into it.
πήραν το μάθημα.
A few
Δεν
months
την
later,
πάτησε
they
ένας
bought a
δικός
new
μας.
$15,000 caravan to replace the old one, which they left in their driveway.
Όχι το σπίτι μου.
In June of that year, Rebecca came home one day to find the caravan had disappeared, after which she immediately reported the incident to the police. However, with no solid leads, the cops couldn't really do anything about it, and the case went cold pretty quickly. It wasn't until 9 months later, in March of 2010, that 11-year-old Ruben Sones found something revealing as he was looking at his house on Google Maps. Using the street view, he found an image of a male intruder on the family's driveway, standing suspiciously outside of his 4x4 vehicle. After a bit of investigating, the family found that the image had been captured by the Google Street View car just moments before the caravan was stolen. Around that time, a neighbor also came forward saying that he had seen the same man towing the caravan on the day of the robbery, but thought that it was a family friend and didn't think it was important to tell the family about it. With such a clear image of the suspect, the Sones thought it would be easy for the cops to solve the crime, but it turned out to be much more difficult than expected to get an unblurred image of the 4x4's license plates from Google. Even though the police knew exactly what the thief looked like, it was never publicly confirmed if they managed to track him down or not. This story takes place in Sugarland, an affluent suburb of Houston, Texas, and one of the safest cities in the U.S.
Yeah,
On
τόσο ρε
December
σπίτια,
10th,
λίγο καγκελάκι
2003,
γύρω
Ken
γύρω,
and
έτσι
Trisha
λίγο ρε
Whitaker went out
παιδάκι
to
μου.
dinner at Papadu Seafood Kitchen to celebrate their son Thomas's graduation from Sam Houston State University. That night, Thomas, or Bart as his friends and family called him, got a $4,000 Rolex watch as a gift from his parents. Over dinner, the family laughed, talked, and teased each other like the happy family they appeared to be on the surface. At one point during the meal, Ken asked his wife and sons to get together for a picture. The image shows Trisha and her 2 sons, Kevin and Thomas, smiling for the camera, and at first glance, everything seems pretty much perfect. Just after 8 p.m., the Whitaker family left the restaurant and headed back home. As they walked up the steps to their house, Bart stayed back to get something from his car, and his dad waited for him. As soon as Kevin opened the door, a man in a ski mask held up a gun and opened fire on the family. Within a few seconds, Kevin, Trisha, Kent, and Bart were lying on the floor with gunshot wounds. As soon as the shots rang out, a neighbor called 911, and even though he was injured, Bart did the same as the attacker ran out the back door. When the responding officers arrived, they found 19-year-old Kevin Whitaker dead on the floor. Trisha was immediately airlifted to the hospital, but sadly didn't survive. Miraculously, Kent survived a gunshot wound to the chest, while Bart got away with a single bullet wound to the arm. Initially, the authorities called the crime a burglary gone wrong. Suspiciously, the alleged burglar left behind the gun he used to commit the crime, but the palm print on the gun didn't yield any useful information. As it was later revealed, the gun had been taken from the Whitaker family's upstairs gun safe, which made it clear that whoever committed the gruesome crime knew the layout of the house before entering. The detectives on the case soon realized that this was no ordinary burglary, as no valuables had been stolen, and the family's drawers and closets seemed to have been neatly pulled out by someone who had been a little too careful not to destroy anything. The day after the murders, detectives discovered that Bart was hiding something from his parents. Not only had he not graduated from university, but he was actually a freshman on probation for not attending his classes and had a 1.4 GPA. About a week after the horrifying incident, Kent and Bart went to Kevin and Trisha's funeral, which was attended by over 1,000 Sugarland residents who had never even heard of such a brutal crime being committed in their city. Several law enforcement officers were at the funeral, not so much to mourn the victims, but rather to watch Bart Whitaker closely. The night before the funeral, a former roommate of Bart named Adam Hipp had gone to the police station and made a shocking revelation. According to the police report, Adam mentioned to the cops that one day in 2001, Bart had approached him and told him about an elaborate plan to murder his family in order to inherit their house and about $1 million in life insurance money. Adam claimed that Bart had even offered him a cut of the inheritance money if he agreed to kill his family framed through a burglary gone wrong and shoot him in the arm in the process to make it look more believable. The more details Adam revealed about the chilling conversation, the more the cops realized that the plan Bart had talked about with his roommate was eerily similar to the events that took place on that fateful night in December 2003. During Adam's interrogation, the name of two more of Bart's college friends were brought up, Chris Brashear and Stephen Champagne. Chris and Stephen worked at the same country club as Bart, and when the cops tested their DNA and sent samples, they found a perfect match for what was found at the crime scene. As the detectives closed in on the suspects, Bart realized he was in trouble. One night, about 7 months after the murders, he told his father he was going out to the club, and he never came back. The authorities looked everywhere for him, but it seemed he had just disappeared without a trace. With Bart nowhere to be found, the cops focused their efforts on Chris and Stephen. Eventually, Stephen cracked under the pressure of the interrogation and admitted that he had been the getaway driver on the night of the crime. Chris had been the gunman, and Bart had orchestrated the entire thing. Stephen even led the police to a bag that had been thrown off of a bridge into Conroe Lake, which contained pretty damning physical evidence, including two-way radios, water bottles, and ammunition that matched the shell casings at the scene. Almost 2 years after the murder, Stephen and Chris were arrested, but Bart was still nowhere to be found. Unbeknownst to the police, Bart had started a completely new life in Mexico. He had a small apartment, a job in a furniture store, and even a girlfriend. Disturbingly, it was later revealed that Bart had lied to his girlfriend's family and spun a very convincing tale about his past, alleging that he had gotten shot in the shoulder while serving in Afghanistan. A year and a half after the murders, a man named Rudy Rios called the cops and confessed that about a year earlier, Bart paid him $3,000 to let him assume Rios' identity and flee to Mexico. In September 2005, Bart was arrested in Mexico, extradited, and charged with the murder of his mother and brother. As it was later discovered, he had tried to carry out the plan on several occasions with other roommates and friends, but something always seemed to get in the way. In an interview with ABC News, Bart claimed that when he was planning the killings, he was operating on autopilot and about as close to numb as a human being can get. After the trial, Bart was sentenced to death, a decision his father lobbied against for years. Kent claimed that having his son executed would only make him a victim once again, and that he had suffered enough. In February 2018, just 40 minutes before Bart's scheduled execution by lethal injection, the governor decided to spare his life. As of 2024, Bart is still in prison, where he will remain for the rest of his life. Miraculously, Ken has forgiven his son and went on to remarry and even write a book about his experience called Murder by Family, the incredible true story of a son's treachery and a father's forgiveness. For many people, the most haunting aspect of this whole case is the fact that in this last picture of the apparently happy family together at dinner, Bart knew very well that if everything went according to plan, his entire family around him would be dead less than half an hour later.